Okay, I am MFiliatrault, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the proper way to write a professional email because, as Nikki just said, you will need to write professional emails to Miss Underhill, your teachers at school already, emails to admissions counselors, people who may be prospective employers, people like that. Should you send a teacher an email that looks like that?
No.
When you're writing a professional email, you don't want to use slang. You don't want to use like texting lingo like this. Wasn't here Friday. Well, you, just capital U. You need to send me the work I missed. Work is misspelled. I is not capitalized. Thanks. Would your teacher know who this was from?
No.
Right? So do not send emails like this. Send emails like this. So when you have your subject, if you're emailing Miss Underhill, you should say 6th period English 12, maybe even your name in there. Like you could say Sierra Ashlaw, 6th period English 12. When you address your teacher, this is the honorific, the Mr., Mrs., Ms., things like that. You will say, Dear Mr. Doe, Dear Miss Underhill. You use a colon after that instead of a comma. A comma is a more familiar way to address somebody. Like if you're going to email a friend or a relative, somebody like that, you would use a comma. If you're emailing somebody in a position of authority, like a teacher or an adult you don't know, you're going to use a colon. It's more formal. Okay, so then in the message of your email, it needs to be concise, friendly, to the point. I hope you had a great weekend, right? That's a good sentence to start with. It's friendly. I was wondering if you could please send me the assignment that I missed on Friday when I was absent. I plan to hand it in tomorrow, right? So nice, pleasant opening sentence. You're asking for help in a very polite way. You're not just saying, hey, you need to send me the work I missed, right? Teachers are much more willing to help you if you are pleasant and approach it in a more friendly way. So after your message, if you haven't said your name in the subject, you should say it in the message of the email. So if you haven't already said, Sierra Ashlaw in the subject, say, Dear Miss Underhill, this is Sierra Ashlaw. I was wondering if you could please send me the assignment that I missed on Friday. Okay, so after your message, you're going to include a pleasant closing sentence. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you for your time. Something like that. Questions so far? Okay. So when you end your email, you don't just say, thanks, that's it. You're going to put a formal closing, something like sincerely or best or something like that. And you always put a comma after it. And you're always going to sign your full name. Don't just put your first name, use your full name. This is the proper way to set it up. And it's always left justified. There's no indenting, it's always everything to the left. And if you have more than one paragraph in your message, you're going to skip a line and then start the next paragraph. There's always a one-line space in between each section. Okay? So what if you don't know the person you're going to email? What if you don't know the person's name? What could you do? Nikki?
To whom it may concern.
To whom it may concern, right? If you use to whom it may concern, it needs to all be capitalized. Not every single letter of to whom it may concern, but the first letter of each word needs to be capitalized. To whom it may concern is a great one. What if the person you're emailing, you don't know them? What if their name is Sam Avery? I think was the example we used earlier. How are you going to say, Dear Sam Avery? Any ideas? You don't know if Sam is a man or a woman, right? You don't know how they identify even. So how would you address Sam Avery? Any ideas? So if you say, you don't want to say like, Dear Ms. Avery, Dear Mr. Avery. You would want to say like, just Dear Sam Avery, right? Oops, hold on. Because you don't know if it's a man or a woman. If it's a man, you don't wanna say, "Dear Mrs. Avery," or vice versa. So you would address them like this. If you don't know the person's name at all, then "To whom it may concern" is a great way to go. If it's a professor, "Dear Professor Avery," "Dear Dr. Avery," something like that, okay? But do your best, like with admissions counselors and things like that, try to find their name. It just shows that you went the extra step to address who you are sending the email to, okay? Let's see. Okay, so Ms. Underhill has said that she has gotten several emails from seniors this year that are just a document shared with her, and that's it. And she doesn't have any idea what to do with it, who it's from, what it is. So when you go to share a Google Doc with your teachers, there's a space for a message. So you could say, "Dear Ms. Underhill, attached, please find my Macbeth," or "Please find my Macbeth essay I shared with you. Have a great weekend, sincerely, John Doe." Something, so she knows what she's dealing with, okay? If you're emailing an attachment, same thing, but there's a space for the subject, so you can have your name, John Doe, 8th period English. "Dear Ms. Underhill, please find my essay on Macbeth. Have a great weekend, sincerely, John Doe." It's still formal, but it tells her who it's from, what it's about, right? It's not just, "Read this," or "Here," something like that, okay? So, always be sure also when you're writing a formal email, when you're done with it, go back, proofread it, make sure things are capitalized, make sure things are spelled correctly. Make sure you have used the proper honorific, the Mr., Ms., Miss. It's just a good thing to do. And be sure to be polite, be friendly. Something like, "I would appreciate any help you could give me." That's a very, a nice way to ask a teacher for help. They're much more receptive to that than "Read this." Yes?
What do we do if it's like to a teacher but we don't know if they're like Miss or Mrs.?
You could say, "Dear," well, because you know the person's name, but you're not sure if they're married, right? Okay. So you could say like, "Ms. is always safe," right? MS. "Dear Ms. Underhill," "Dear MFiliatrault." That would be appropriate. Okay. Did you have a question?
No, I was just gonna add something to it, that's okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So this is just a quick video. It's made by Powtoon. It's just reinforcing what we've been talking about. It's got a couple other good points in it too, so I thought you guys might like to see it. Don't use the comma though, use the colon.
You think so too?
in the video that said if it's something sensitive or a concern you have that maybe you need to talk to your teacher in person, maybe send an email saying, I really need to meet with you to discuss X. That might be more appropriate than just doing it over email. If it's something that's, very sensitive and personal, talk to your teacher in person. Don't just try to hash it all out over email, okay? Another thing I forgot to mention too is these formal letters, or formal emails, they're set up just like a business letter, and I know the grammar and the punctuation, things like that are very picky, but when you go to apply for jobs, if you send a letter and it's not set up right and there's spelling errors and it's a mess, your employer might not even look at it. I know my husband does hiring for General Electric. If someone sends in a resume or does a cover letter for him and there's all kinds of grammatical errors and it's not set up well, he won't even talk to the person. He interviews at Clarkson a lot of times, and one time he had a resume that was so bad, he went through and circled all the errors in red pen and handed it back to the kid and said, I'm sorry, you have great experience, but I can't even talk to you, this is a mess. You don't even know how to set up a proper resume. So this stuff is important when you guys are, applying to colleges and trying to find jobs, things like that. So really take it to heart. And I know Ms. Underhill will be expecting fabulous emails from you guys for the rest of the year. So I thought just to end it, I would have you guys do a practice email, professional, formal email on a piece of scrap paper.
Before we do that, can I add anything?
Yes.
We're good.
Okay, great.